Is this going to be recorded? Will I be able to watch this again? How can I
Yeah.
get CE in the future? So everything lives inside the Best Practices Association. Yes, there's a
Yeah.
space called event recordings, and you will be able to access this forever.
I love it. Love
Yeah.
it. So we're ready to go. Are you ready to go?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So I'm going to ask you to man the chat and find out what's going on here
I'm ready.
while I lead us here today. And let me go to the top. And you guys are in for a treat today because if you haven't been to any of these before, welcome. And if you're back, welcome back. We always love to hear from our guests. Now, I always love these to be very interactive. So if you have questions along the way, please add them to the chat. And we're going to do our best to answer all of them because no question is a silly question. This is a very, very important topic. It's very near and dear to our hearts. And we're actually going to pull back the curtains and take you behind the scenes and show you kind of like what we do here and how we do it. We're going to show you our secrets today because some people think we talk a big game, better practice, better life. But we're going to show you exactly how we do that today. And it's fun. And really, the topic today is revenue reality, mastering production and write offs, which is a very hot topic and an ever changing dynamic in dentistry. Now, before we get started, if you haven't heard, we've merged with an amazing community called Smile Source. And the whole crux, the whole purpose of what we're doing is we're building an amazing ecosystem community around independent practice, tools to support you. So if you ever thought, I don't know if I could create my own practice, well, we're here to tell you you can do it. And we have all the tools and we've got hundreds, if not thousands of practices that are doing it, and you can lock arms with them, be side by side. You can see how all that works. And we're going to ask you to take this journey today. So do us a favor. If you have your phone, just put it over the QR code and it's going to take you to a web form. And that's just going to introduce you to our amazing community. And you can stay connected to what we're doing and where we're going next and what we're up to. So please join us.
Yeah, and Kirk, this form, anyone that fills this out today, this is kind of a special thing because anyone that fills out this form is going to have an introductory conversation, if you want it, into what does the future of Smile Source and everything that Smile Source has to offer mean to you. So one of the things that we love about the merge between Act Dental, which a lot of you watching the webinar, you probably know us from that side of things, is we are such a paralleled community because Smile Source mission, like you said, is to protect private practice. And part of what they're doing is education through their dentists and educational forums and local cohorts and study clubs in their community. And over here in the Act Dental side, we've always been a proponent of community. And then there's this element of Smile Source, which we're really excited to bring together, which is the purchasing side of things and the discounts and the rebates and the savings. So it's just perfect to learn a little bit more about that if you're interested. This is a webinar about revenue and production and write-offs. And if you're watching it, you're probably curious how to be more profitable. And that's part of why we love being a part of this new merged community is we have community and all of these solutions to help you maximize those pain points in your practice.
Amen. So well said. So join us. I promise you, you'll love it. You're going to be around like minded individuals that have the same challenges you have. And some of these people have figured it out. So join us. So check it out. So today, we're going to go deep into revenue reality. And this is near and dear to my heart because everybody talks about what they're producing and all of these things. And we get into these conversations, but they're not real. So today, we're going to make them real. And we're going to talk about what really it means. It's about mastering production and write offs. And this is an incredible opportunity, if you get this, to make your life better and your practice better. Because what you really wanted when you became a dentist, obviously you loved the science of dentistry. You wanted to be involved, but really there was something that motivated you to do it. And I'm going to guess it was the freedom to choose how to practice, the freedom how to treat people, the freedom of when you could work, the freedom to choose how that. And a lot of this goes away when you get heavily involved in PPOs. And freedom in dentistry doesn't come from how much you produce. It comes from how much you keep. Now, even the keep needs to be defined now because people look at the bottom of their P&Ls and they go, man, I'm doing great, but they still don't have any money. And we're going to describe what that means. So if you ever feel stressed, I want you to go back and examine the word freedom. Do you have the freedom to do what you want? And I'm here to tell you, you can do it if you know these formulas. And so this is why, Miranda, go there.
Yeah, so I was just going to say we did a webinar not too long ago where we talked a little bit about entrepreneurship and what it means to have the freedom of practice ownership. And one of the things we talked about was a statistic from a study between the ADA and the Health Institute, and there was some really dramatic stats that talked about the satisfaction with autonomy and clinical decision making and the satisfaction with our ability to like you just said, kind of command the future or the hours or what it is that we want our practice to be when we transition for people who transition from like an associateship into ownership. And so there's a lot to be said around that word freedom. I love that that's what you kicked this off with, because freedom is what all of this is about. And a lot of people feel burdened by their practice or stressed or trapped even. And our goal is to help you think of your practice in a different way. You say all the time, our problems aren't our problems, it's how we think about our problems. And our goal is to help you find ways to relieve that burden and not feel trapped, but instead feel like there really is this freedom to create what we want and what I want. So
Totally agree.
wanted
I
to layer
love
that
that.
in.
Oh, please, all the time. So Um, and as we continue down this path, I mean, today we're going to be talking about why you need to understand write-offs and why it's so important. And bottom line is, a profitable practice gives you the freedom to choose. So some people come to me and go, I don't care about money. I didn't do this for the money. I get that. But money is to your practice what oxygen is to your body. Without it, both die. And so I get it. Like money is not the most important thing to me. Margin is. I need the margin to enjoy my family and enjoy those things that matter to me and to breathe. And so when it comes to cutting back on clinical days, investing in technology, or just taking vacations where you can be present, you're going to need that margin, that profit. You do need a profitable practice, bottom line. And you have to know how to do that. And I'm going to show you, with Miranda's help, how to do that today. And then the other thing you're going to understand is that when you have that clarity, I'm telling you right now, when you use the GAPS formula, if you become a pro coaching client, we're going to make you do that. You're going to look at these spreadsheets and you're going to go, I totally know what I'm doing now. And you're going to have this thing called clarity. And you're now going to be able to diagnose the stress in your life. You're like, I can tell you where that stress is coming from. It's coming from this line right here. We were talking about this morning, like the practices that we coach, and Miranda's going to take us through a couple examples of that. Because when you understand the true impact of write-offs, you can now start to mitigate that stress. You can stop chasing misleading numbers like gross production. Please write this down. Gross production is a false proxy. Let me say that again. Gross production is a false proxy. When you're talking to your friend about how much you produce and they produce it, it's false because who cares? That's just potential collections. We don't know how much you're collecting. So it's important to start making smarter business decisions that bring you peace of mind and improve your profit. Now, if you don't know who we are, let me take you inside of who we are. The reason we even did this in the first place is to help dentists create a better practice and better life. It's our core focus and our core purpose. And we love that. It's the why in what we do. Our tagline, if you've ever seen anything we do, it's better practice, better life. But I'm gonna give you the real secret. Like people go, better practice, better life. Okay, what does that really mean? I'm gonna tell you now. Here's what it really means. People come to us and they go, I'm stressed. It's better practice, better profits, better life. That's one piece of it. Some people come to us and go, I'm good with the money thing. They're like, I need a better team. Well, better practice starts with better culture, then a better life. And then people are like, my schedule's crazy. I work Saturday. Like, it's better practice. How is the better schedule, better life? So there's a method to how we do this. And really, it's rolling up our sleeves and focusing on what our practices need. And a lot of them come to us with this need. I just need to make more money. I've been to Panky. I've been to Dawson. I've been to Coyce. I've been to Spear. I'm a Seattle Study Club doctor. I'm a Smile Source doctor. Like, At the end of the day, can you just help me make a little bit more money and maybe cut back the number of days that I work? And our answer is yes. So here's how it works. And so we've got these tools back in an amazing resource called the Best Practices Association. And we've created these so that you can either do them on your own, you could do them with a group, or we can do it for you in a pro coaching setting. But here's one of those resources, and it's called the financial gaps. And the gaps method tells the dental entrepreneur, which you have to be an entrepreneur, the story. Because a lot of times you're looking at a P&L, you don't know the story. You're just looking at numbers, you're looking at what's due for taxes. But as an entrepreneur, you need to know the story of your business and more specifically, the four gaps where dollars of production leave your practice. And so those are usually in lagging indicators. Now, I've been doing this a long time. So here I go, I've been doing this for 31 years. And I remember being in a lot of your practices back when I was 26 years old. And I would sit in these morning huddles and everyone would say, our gross production for this month and we're producing today and what we collected today. Remember those days, Miranda?
Oh yeah.
And
I like that
everyone was,
voice too.
do you like that? Yeah, okay, our gross production today is this. And so what I know now is those are lagging indicators. Those are impacts or results or outcomes of the important activities that we do today. They're not leading indicators. So, all of these, when you do the leading indicators in a healthy way, you get really great, healthy lagging indicators. So, those are gross production, net production, collections, net profit, and true profit. Now, we'll define these as we go. But in between, there's some gaps. And these gaps create what you're looking for. And so they're the lagging indicators. They're the gaps in between all of those. And the first one is the effort gap. The second one is the collections gap. And again, we're going to go through all of these, but I want you to get an idea of how you can do this. The third one is the overhead gap. And the fourth one is cash flow gap. Here's what I want to say. Once you know what they are, they're like little levers or little dials. You can go, okay, I just need to dial this one in. And every time you tighten up a dial in one of those, one more dollar of profit drops to the bottom line. Probably one more day of practice drops to the bottom line. An amazing coach like Miranda will know all of these gaps and she will turn those dials and make sure that more profit falls to those bottom lines. And you can do it too. I would challenge you. It's hard. It's easier to do it with a coach, but like, let's go into what those things mean. The effort
Or
gap. Oh, go
really
ahead.
quick, before you jump into what it is, I love what you just said is a really great coach is going to turn those dials. And I would actually like layer onto that a little bit, or maybe even say it a little bit differently in that a great coach isn't going to turn the dials for you. Obviously, we don't live in your
Right.
practice, but what we do, which I think is so much more impactful, is we help you to see and understand those dials. You said at the beginning, one of the most important things is clarity, and that clarity reduces stress. And most of the clients that come to us as a coach seeking coaching are saying, I need help, I need help. They don't know what to look for
Right.
necessarily. And so what we do is just kind of shine a light on what are these key areas like that you're about to go through, like to look at, to know, to understand. And we're not going to be able to show up and turn the dial, but as soon as we help you to see and get the clarity, then you're going to be able to turn the dial. And I consider it a win. You and I were just talking this morning. You mentioned about a couple of my clients. I'm just celebrating a lot of things that are happening with some of my clients right now. And we were talking about one in particular who I love now when we get on a call and they're looking at their gap scorecard and they will say to me, I know what you're going to say. Why is this at that? And why does that at this month? I already got it. I already know. And we've grown so much together to understand and for them to be in that place. And it's really just awesome to see people, dentists who felt like I could never do this on my own. I could never understand this. Like to be able to feel in control and feel this sense of calm around numbers and money, which can very much be a source of stress and burden for a lot of dental practice owners.
Yeah, you're just striking a chord with me today, too, because if you're a dentist, you know how this works. We love this profession, and this profession needs entrepreneurs. It needs entrepreneurs that feel confident about their businesses. And so, what you're talking about matters. And what's really cool is watching young leaders go, I got this. Like, I actually know what I'm doing now. You can see the light They employ other people. They give team members their lives back. It's just the most. I mean, I'm not kidding when I say this. Like, it's the most satisfying work in the world to watch other people grow. It's the greatest thing ever, and to be a facilitator of that is just. I just feel grateful, and so that really fuels our purpose around here. And so, Miranda, I could spend 30 minutes on what you just said, but I won't. So let's go deeper
Well,
into
let's
the.
spread a little knowledge to the
Yeah,
listeners
let's do
here.
that. Yeah, and I apologize for my raspy, but I've been coming down with a cold this week, and I'm trying to
Oh,
keep
come
my.
on. You've been cheering at those regional football games. That's what
Yeah,
you've been
that's
doing.
true. My son's a senior in high school, and so they've won 2 playoff games, and they're gonna play their 3rd this Friday, and so I'm screaming my head off, and so that's true. So this first gap is the effort gap. Now let's go into there. If again, if you became a pro client, I'm just going to give you a snapshot of what it would look like. This is a modified version of our gaps tool, and so this is what it looks like. We would be tracking every dollar, every potential dollar that comes in. And why this is different than a P&L is your P&L does not show your gross production. Your P&L does not show your write-offs. Your P&L does not show your write-off percentage. It doesn't show you anything but one number, what you collected. So your accountant, bless their heart, has no idea how hard you've worked to get this number at the top of your P&L. You need to know how hard you work to get to the top. So that's going to include your gross production number, which is faulty in so many practices because a lot of times you don't put in any production. You put in the wrong number. You don't put in all of the numbers. You
You
don't have the
zero out those things that you're not charging versus adjusting them off.
totally. And there's other faults with the other numbers. Think about write-offs. You don't enter the write-offs correctly. Sometimes you don't enter any write-offs. So
You're
we're going
not
to
billing your full fee.
you're not billing your full fee. You're billing somebody else's fee. All right. That's a whole nother webinar. And it's amazing to me. My favorite number on this GAPS scorecard is the number of days you were open, you went to work. I am fascinated. More than 95% of dentists have no idea how hard they worked last year. They're like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm like, go home, count the number of days that you worked. And then they go, do you know how many days I worked? The average dentist in the United States, according to the ADA, works 220 days a year. That's too much. Don't work that hard. But that's what we call the effort gap. Now, the first step of any of this is just knowing what's in there. And so once you get your arms around that, now you can start to tighten those dials. And we're going to come back to what that means here in just a second. But the second gap is called the collections gap. Now, collections, this is an important one too, because in there you're going to see there's net collections, and then you've got gross collections percentage, and then net collections percentage. The bottom line is you should collect of your collectible production 100%. We say it all the time, but it's worth repeating. 95% is an A in a classroom, but it's a D in practice management. Now, there's an opportunity there because you should collect 100% of what's owed to you. I don't think it's good to celebrate 95%. We can start there and let's go to 96. Let's go to 97. We can celebrate that for sure. But when you're leaving 5% on the table, that's money you could put in your retirement. That's money you could use to service your debt. That's money you could use to give yourself a raise or give your team members a raise. So in there is the collections gap. The fourth gap where you can tighten the dial is the overhead gap. Now, here's what I would say, being the old timer in the room, is like overhead isn't overhead. It actually was kind of true when somebody said back in the day, 20 years ago, what's your overhead? My overhead's 55%. What's yours? Well, mine's 60%. There would be some type of a conversation, but now that's irrelevant because overhead now is a function of gross production. The percentages come out of what you collect, but you have to understand that some practices are writing off so much that their overhead is not relevant anymore. They're writing off as much as 42, 43%, which makes their overhead percentage insane. And so that's an opportunity in there. And then lastly, but not leastly, is the cash flow gap. Now, the cash flow gap, it's important to know that there's a difference between net income and true profit. So this is where an opportunity. Like, the first thing to understand is that doctor salary is not an overhead. I know that's a big conversation in dentistry, but we don't consider that part of your overhead. That's actually down in the bottom in the cash flow gap. It's associate compensation, your compensation, and then you have what's a net income, which is probably going to show up, you know, in some type of report that your accountant is going to create. But what you won't see in any of those reports or a P&L report is going to be your true profit. So at the bottom of your P&L, it probably says $320,000, which puts you in the top 5% of dentists in the United States. But your accountant doesn't tell you how much you paid taxes that you had to pay cash for, or your loan payments. That shows up only in other things. And you say, well, that's great, but I don't have any money. So you have to be aware of how taxes and loans affect your true profit. We have many practices that come to us that produce north of $5 million and they have no money. And it's the worst place to be. Now, we can fix that, but there's nothing worse than having to create that much output and have no money at the end of the day. So let's take apart some of these gaps. And Miranda, jump in when you
Yeah, well, we're really just going to focus on the effort gap today.
yeah.
Like, we could spend an hour on each one of them. So I love the introduction that you just gave, just to help everybody to see. And I see it every day. Again, working with clients is that celebration around gross production. It is part of what our industry has always celebrated is gross production. How much do you produce? How much do you produce? And we're in alignment that we should really be celebrating how much do we collect? How many days are we working, or how much fewer are we working this year than we did last year? And celebrating seeing those write-offs go down so that we can really celebrate that true profit. And nothing brings me greater joy than being on a call, looking at the bottom of a GAP's scorecard and seeing a green cell reporting true profit at the end of each month, and certainly year over year. So, yeah, today we're going to focus on the effort gap and how write offs impact that difference between our gross and net production and what is actually collectible. Really quick as well. We have Trish who just said she works 193 days a year, so
Good
below the
job.
average. Way to go! And then there's a question about what does P and L stand for? P and L. So when we say P and L, it probably throws you off, but it's P and L, which is profit and loss. So it's about your profit and loss statement, which
Great
you can
question.
obtain from your CPA. But yeah, so we're going to look at that effort gap and what is actually happening with write-offs specifically, what falls within that gap, so that you can start to see, okay, if this is where I want to start tweaking the dials, then what do I need to be looking at within this space?
Yeah, and every practice has an effort gap, and it's you should have one. And what we want you to understand are three things. So, if there's a takeaway today, I want you to answer these three questions for yourself. What is the true output of my or our business? Like, how much output are we creating? The second question I want you to answer for yourself is how much of our dentistry or my dentistry am I able not to collect on, not able to collect on? Meaning, how much are we leaving on the table by having a collections gap? And then the third question I want you to answer for yourself is how many days per month am I really working for free? Now, I'm going to warn you, the third one is going to create some chest pain. It's going to frustrate you, but don't stay there. It's important to know the number because it will create some inertia, some intention around saying, I'm not doing that anymore. There is a positive to learning number three because you can say to yourself, not doing that anymore. So, this is a great clip. Give us a little intro to this one. I'm a big fan of this show, and there's a video clip. Now, we're not going to show the video clip, but describe this one, Miranda. This is so
Yeah.
great.
Okay. So anyone who's ever seen me or heard me speak at any of our events ever knows that I shut my brain off by watching just dumb television. And Schitt's
Yeah,
Creek is one of the best programs that's come out in the last
ever.
decade. So there's just this amazing scene. I think most people have heard of it where David is writing everything off within his business. And he's talking to his dad, who's been in business for years. And he's like, right, but who's paying for it? And he's like, it's a write off. Like nobody pays for it. And what I think is so funny about this scene, because it goes on for quite a while, is the lack of understanding of what a write off is. Like, I think the takeaway from this scene that we see play out in practices every day is, do we really know what a write-off is? Do we really know what lies within these adjustments or these write-offs that are decreasing the potential for revenue in our practice? And so
Yeah.
I just thought it was a fun little light way to if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Look up this episode. It's hilarious. But we're going to dig in a little bit to learning what are write offs, what do they mean to your practice, what lives within that effort gap space that really is comprised of these write offs and adjustments.
Yeah. And I think actually, let me just go there. I think this is one of the most brilliant phrases the insurance company has ever created. I actually believe this happened. There were two people in a room and they're like, no, 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 no. Don't call them insurance discounts. No, 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 no. Don't. We're going to call them write offs. And dentists are going to buy it because it has this trigger in your brain like write offs. Yeah, it's a write off. It's a write off. Like it's a soft, like something. It's a soft, like entry. Don't use the word discounts because dentists don't like discounting their fees, but they will like writing off some of their fees. So I think there's some brilliance on their side of things for those two words. Don't buy into it. So I don't love the word write off. You can trade that out for discount for now. But like a couple important things to understand is how does production leave this gap? And it leaves it in a couple ways. PPO write-offs, which are skyrocketing, and I'll just give you a little like here we are on the map. Something weird happened in COVID because prior to COVID, when we were coaching practices, it wasn't unusual for us to find very large practices writing off 20, 25%. And even in those days, 2019, 2018, we would talk as coaches and go, that's stupid. Like, that's just crazy. Something happened in COVID and it just got weird. And now we're finding people post COVID that have write offs of 42, 43%. And on some
Yeah, I'd
plans,
celebrate if some of my clients got down to 20% right now.
yeah. Now, here's the thing I'm going to share this. We are so invested in helping dentists be happy and figure this out. I ask other people in the industry that are specialists in this, like, are you finding the same thing? And they're all like, yeah, 42, 43%. There are some practices they're finding in the 50s, like
Mhm.
55%, which makes no sense at all. None. And where this happens is in PPO write offs, and it's getting harder and harder. It's amazing that you can't pull a super clean report from any of the softwares to find out exactly the write offs per insurance, per procedure. It's just fascinating to me.
And
So,
Kirk, I'm going to try not to go down a rabbit trail, but when you bring that up, it just gets me thinking. And here's what happens when your practice is writing off 40, 45, 48, 50%. You're not making money.
right.
And so you think, oh my gosh, we have to do more.
Yes.
We have to do more. I have to work harder. We need to, squeeze in every emergency that we can, do every bit of same day that we can. We're pressuring our hygiene team and our assistant team to upsell. We're becoming this environment or this culture that we never intended to be because we feel the crunch, that tightness of not really having money at the end of the day. And so most people think, oh no, we don't have enough. We need to do more at the top, when in reality, all you're going to do is write off 50% of even more.
Right.
And so you're not really solving the problem. You're just getting busier and more stressed, and your office and your practice and your team feel crazier every single day.
Yeah. And you come up with crazy ideas like, let me add a few more ops to make this crazy bigger, and so that's a bad decision. We don't want you to do that. So this is how production leaves in this gap. A second way that it leaves the gap is in elective write-offs or adjustments. Now, again, I pointed this out earlier. There's inherent challenges in that because you know who you are. You're like, oh, I don't have that many elective write-offs. Well, your sister was in last week and you prepped all of her uppers, and you did that. And the next week you did prepped all of her lowers and you didn't put in the computer. And so you're all mad because we're not collecting enough this month. So the point is put everything in the computer, always put in your full fee so that you have complete visibility on how you use your time and what procedures you do. When you do that, now you can start to go to work on that. I always want you to give back, but I want you to give back on your terms, not other people's terms. And that's when it becomes fun. And then the other place it comes out is in your membership plan discounts, which you need to have complete visibility. I'm a big fan, but like you do need to know Is this working for my practice or is it not? A lot of people subscribe blindly to them and they don't pay attention. So that's the caveat. You do need to pay attention to them. Now, let's go a little bit further into insurance adjustments. Miranda, you want to explain this?
Oh, sure. So, I mean, this category of adjustments is usually the biggest impact on your effort gap if you're participating with insurance plans, obviously.
Right.
With every insurance contract that you have, you're agreeing to a fee. So, when we were mentioning earlier, a lot of practices aren't billing full fee. Step number one, you should be billing, or, when a patient comes in for a hygiene visit, that what gets posted to their ledger in your practice management software is your office master full fee schedule. And then we take the adjustment from there. What many practices do is they bill the insurance contracted fee. So when you go in network with an insurance, you're agreeing in that contract that, for crowns, I'm never going to charge more than $747. Even if my master fee schedule says I charge $1,800. And so every time you serve a patient and deliver a crown, when we're posting that to the ledger, we want it to say $1,800. And then we want to be able to show and demonstrate that write off is the difference between that 1,800 and that 747, so that we can run these reports and we can really have awareness and access to how much are we giving away? How much are we writing off or discounting by being a part of this insurance plan? And when you have your master fee schedule established in the computer with your practice management software, it is actually really easy. A lot of the pushback we get is from administrative teams saying it makes it a little harder to estimate, but all of these softwares are designed and established in a way for you to bill your full fee and still be able to maximize the efficiency of the technology and provide those estimates. Like you mentioned earlier, the average practice is writing off 30 to 45%. I've seen practices in the 47s, 48s. Luckily, I haven't had anybody in the 50s just yet. But think about a pro fee. If our pro fee is $167, but an insurance company's contracted rate, the contract we signed said the most you can ever charge for this procedure is $67. So that's $100 every single time somebody has a pro fee in our practice. And if you're in a state where hygienists are getting paid 50 or $60 an hour, there's a very small profit margin
Yeah.
on a pro fee in your practice. And so what do? We say, guess what, hygienists, we're going to need to see 10 patients instead of 8 because
Yeah.
we have to start making up that difference. When in reality, if we can do something to impact that write off, we're going to be able to keep more of that at the end of the day.
Totally agree. So well said. Now, I do need to add this on top of what Miranda brilliantly said. I do get this question every single month. Well, you just teach practices to go out of network. No, 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 that is not true. There are many practices we coach that stay in network forever, but they choose who to be in network with, how big of a part of their practice is. And I think
Mhm.
that's the important piece is you get to pick this journey. All we want you to do is be smart about it and have visibility on it. And then you can start
Mhm.
to improve those conditions. That's the coolest part about dentistry. You pick your path, but we want you to know what's on the path. Just don't walk blindly on the path, like pick the path. So, Miranda, this is an amazing practice. Tell us the story behind this.
Yeah, so in this particular practice, we're looking at a 3 doctor practice. They're producing, as you can see, gross production looking really good, 5.6, almost 5.7 million. They are contracted with insurance companies. They have to be at 43.9%. Now, this particular practice I know very well, and so I know that they also have a membership plan, and they are elective adjustments. You're never going to get away from elective adjustments. And so when we're looking at a practice of this size who is highly contracted with insurance, we're at 43, almost 44% write-offs. That is immediately taking us down to a net production of just over 3 million. We know that we are not going to be able to collect on anything more than 3.192 million based on how much we are discounting or writing off right off the top. And so when we look at our net collections in this practice with that 44% write off, we're at just over 3 million. And if you go to the next slide, practice B, another practice.
Wait, can I just add this
Oh,
too?
sure.
So we're going to talk about this. There's something called the energy quotient. And so I'm just going to point it on this example. And that formula is total adjustments divided by gross production per day, days work for free. We want you to know how many days you work for free. So I'm going to apply it to this one and then we'll describe it later. When you do the formula, this practice worked 89 days for free. They don't do that anymore, but that's where they started. Okay. 89 days for free. That's out of 204. Almost half of the days they went to work were for free. Now, I'll argue they weren't for free because you're still paying salaries, you're still paying rent, you're still paying for supplies.
You're paying in effort and
You
energy. That's why we
are,
call this the effort gap, because you are paying for it. You're just paying for it in your sanity and your energy and your effort.
yeah, insanity doesn't improve when you work harder and harder and harder and make less, less, less. You go insane, you don't become sane. So tell us about practice B.
Yeah, so practice B, another example, three doctor practice. You can see the gross production is almost identical, 5.63 versus the 5.69 that was happening in the other practice. However, this practice does not have anything other than elective adjustments. So there is no membership plan courtesies or discounts applied. There's no insurance discounts or write-offs applied. And so the biggest thing you can see is when you have a swing like this in that effort gap from 44% down to, we'll call it six, we'll round up just for generosity, to 6%, that automatically they're already able to, they have the potential to collect $2 million more than the other practice. So net production in this practice being at 5.3. And if you remember, maybe Kirk just flipped back to the previous slide. The previous practice that was writing off net production was at 3.1.
Yeah.
So go forward for me one more time. So we're looking at 3.1 to 5.3 difference in what is collectible purely because of what is escaping through that effort gap. And so when we're looking at this collections, it's $2 million, guys. We're talking dollars here.
Yeah. And you can only guess the pace of this practice compared to the other one, you know, the conversations and the type of patients you're referring. The patients are referring other patients going, I know, I got to pay, blah, blah, blah. So you're creating only a future reality that supports the current one. So, and I'm going to apply the energy quotient to this one too. Now, again, like we said at the beginning, everybody has an effort gap and everybody's giving away days for free. But this is a practice that chooses to give back to a certain cost. So the same formula applied to a different practice. Instead of 89, you're giving away 14 days of dentistry you want to give back to your community, to your families, to the people that matter to you. So it all comes back to freedom. You get to choose. The coolest thing about this profession is the power of choice. The hardest part is no choice. So let's talk about membership plan adjustments. You want to cover this one too?
Sure. And I was just going to say too, that doesn't just happen
Right.
either. Like we don't have a magic wand. So
Right.
we do want to emphasize that it takes intention, it takes strategy, it takes your whole team being aligned around this vision of where we're going, because those conversations are different with our patients when we are in a position where we are not just, people aren't just choosing us for the sake of it's a free cleaning today. Like it does take a little work, but that's where the guidance comes in. Membership plan adjustments are actually a great way to help with patient loyalty. And when you are making that transition away from insurance and into a bit more of a cash or fee for service practice, they bridge that gap and they tie and tether patients to your practice. So we do have to be very aware of the fact that there is also discounts, write-offs, right? Money leaking from the practice within this adjustment gap. But there is a balance here if we're doing it well and we have more control. So with the insurance company, we don't have control. I mean, we can negotiate, we can look for the right plans that provide us a higher contracted fee, or maybe we join an umbrella that negotiates higher fees for us. But with a membership plan, we are in more control of what are we charging, what discounts are we providing. You get to pick and choose and say, what do I want this to look like? So you're able to have a bit more control and a bit more freedom around using membership plans. I was talking with the team yesterday, and they do a lot of comprehensive and implant dentistry. And they're like, we have this 15% courtesy if you're a part of our preventive membership plan. However, when we do these large cases that are $30,000 or $40,000, that's a big chunk. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, great news. You can modify that. You can say on implant cases, it's a 5%, or on implant cases, there's a cap at whatever the amount is. You have the freedom with a membership plan to create the discount or the write-off that makes sense for your practice. And like you've said all along in this webinar, is the key element is you have to know first where are we, what are we writing off, where are we trying to go, and then you can modify it. But the beauty of a membership plan, because there's pros and cons, is that you do develop this loyalty with your patient. They've now signed on to say, like, I believe in you. I trust in the service and the care that you are going to be providing to me. I'm going to do that here with you. I want to come back here for my hygiene visits. I want you to be the one who helps me through these challenges when they occur. But I just need a little help. I need to figure out how to make this work financially. Okay. So we can work through this membership plan. And what we see is that loyalty and the way that patients are tethered to the practice is they're doing more dentistry, they're staying longer, and we're ultimately receiving more, like, cash or revenue from these patients than we would from an insurance patient or someone else. So it's just the balance has to be just right, and we have to be aware of what's happening within those plans and what our write-offs look like.
Yeah, an important piece on this is that the plan administrator, this is the cool part, is you. So, like, some people try it and they go, "Ah, it didn't work." But, like, I think the important piece, whether it works for your practice or not, is like you are the administrator. You get to play with all the dials. You get to choose how much of your it is in your practice, all the details. So what Miranda said is spot on. You just have to be aware of how
Well, and
all this
Kirk,
is.
we just got a question in the Q&A, so no, flip the
Yeah.
slide. Perfect
Oh,
timing.
there
They
you
said,
go.
"Do you recommend
Yeah.
anyone who helps facilitate membership plans?" And we do have a success partner, Clary. They used to be Clear. They've changed brands and name. And so we work really closely with a lot of our clients using Clary. If you don't want to manage the hassle of maintaining your own membership plan, then you can work with a company like Clary. And that's again where we talk about they have so much data that helps to support things like reduced no-show rates, because you have people who are invested in choosing you through this membership plan, more procedures per year, more visits per year. If they're paying for a membership plan, they're coming, they're doing the maintenance, they're doing the work. Same thing with production. What we see in the results is that more and more patients who are part of a membership plan are saying yes to the dentistry because they're choosing you by staying with your practice as a part of that plan.
Yeah, and I'll just go super high level because I think a lot of people get stuck on the whole membership or discount plan. Like, if you're looking at it as a discount plan, I don't know if that's the best choice for anybody that would be listening to this. I think it's important that every business, and I do mean every business in the United States, has some type of loyalty program. I appreciate when I have a free coffee from Starbucks. I appreciate that I get, some incentives when I go to the store. I appreciate the fact that they recognize me as somebody who's here a lot. And so that's what this allows you to really do, and let people know. I love the fact that you're a regular, uh, you know, customer here, and
People
we
like to be a part of something. That's why we have the
100%.
community that we have of the Best Practices Association.
Yeah.
And when they sign up for that membership, they're not signing up for dentistry. They're not signing up for cleanings and crowns. They're signing up to be a member of your practice, which is pretty special.
Yeah. Now, just so you guys know behind the scenes, Miranda drives all the content here. And like a lot of times she gives us the framework and I dirty up the slides. But this is a slide I'm totally stealing from you. This is amazing. Can you explain what this slide is? I
Well,
love this.
okay. I love AI. I know a lot of people are afraid of it. We're going to become iRobot world or whatever, but I love AI. So I said, you know what, AI, I'm going to have you help me create some fun slides that speak to the feelings that are evoked when we're doing content like this. So when I think about elective adjustments, I picture it as a dentist saying, like, literally feeling, like, you can see the expression on his face, just a
Love it.
little bit of confusion, a little bit of dismay, a little bit of disappointment. Like, but wait, where did all that money go? And it's leaving your piggy bank and it's flying out the window every time we're looking at really any type of write-offs. So I also got a giggle. Thank you, AI, for Dr. Write-Off on the name badge. I love it.
Yeah.
But when we're thinking about elective adjustments, The number one elective adjustment is doctor applied courtesies. And so if you want to just bump ahead, we can dive into what some of the.
Wait, I just want to point out one thing.
Oh, sure.
Those are not $5 bills. Those are not $1 bills. Those are $100 bills. Look at that. All right,
I
keep going.
just, I like to have fun in case you can't tell from my
We
Schitt's
know
Creek
that. Everyone knows that around here.
posts.
So,
So, yeah, when we're looking at elective write offs, these are things that are voluntary. So, when we're talking about insurance write offs, you signed a contract. You cannot charge more than X amount of dollars for X procedure signed on the dotted line. With membership plans, to some degree, you've made an agreement that this is what I will charge up to, or discount, or courtesy. I like the word courtesy better than discount for you
right.
as a part of this membership plan. When it comes to elective adjustments, they are voluntary. There is no contractual obligation to perform them or honor them. So I just listed a few of the key elements, things that we generally see. Again, the leading elective adjustment is doctor applied courtesies. And I would categorize these as the doctor coming up front and saying, hey, we're going to give Mrs. Jones 20% on that. Hey, we're going to go ahead and do 10% on that. That verbal, like, I got you, buddy. I work with a really awesome team in South Carolina, the nicest people, too nice sometimes. If you're listening, he knows who I'm talking about, because he'll say, oh, but he goes to my church and he's a nice guy. And I'm like, does that mean he shouldn't have to pay his bills? Like, and so it's just that it's that doctor applied, like, you want to do something nice for the community or for this person, or
Yeah.
sometimes it's just softening the blow because you're not confident in those objection or kind of conflict conversations. So a patient pushes back a little bit and you decide, like, we'll go ahead and give you 10% off if you want to go ahead and go forward with it. Those are our doctor applied courtesies. Now, mind you, I'm like you, give greater than get. I think that being at zero would be a little odd, like that you giving nothing back throughout the year. But that's probably the most common one. But the other thing that happens most often is you'll see on an adjustment report professional courtesy. And then all of this that's listed here, service and trade, cash courtesies, senior citizen, those doctor applied courtesies, prorated treatment, all of that is just listed in your software as a professional courtesy. And you don't actually get that granular information when you're running the reports on what your adjustments are. So we generally recommend to build out adjustment types to suit those most common elective adjustments that you're applying. If you do cash courtesies, have it say cash courtesy adjustment. If you're doing senior citizen or military, have it say that specifically. If you have a friends and family courtesy, or you do barter with your community members, service and trade, you want to make sure that at the end of the month, at the end of the year, when you run an adjustment report, it's not lumped into one bucket, but you can really look and see, where are we giving away? And hey, just think, if you're doing a lot of prorated treatment courtesies, it's going to give you a little insight that maybe something's going on with the dentistry if we're having to do that a lot and things are failing within a short period of time.
Yeah.
If we're doing a lot of military courtesies, there's a great marketing opportunity to market to the military community. Hey, we must be seeing a lot of military patients. Let's lean into that. You've talked about having teacher days, we could have military days. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that you can learn from the granular information within elective adjustments. But you have to code for it.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you a story about the pediatric dentist? We took the kid. I'll tell you this. So Sarah and I have 4 kids. They're 25, 23, 21, and 17 now. I'm panicked now. He's a great guy. I hope he's not on this webinar. Please don't be on this webinar. But every time, and I do mean every time we would come in, I'd bring all the kids in. He'd do the sealants. He'd give us electric toothbrushes. He would write NC on a piece of paper, and we would take that up to the front, and everyone would just wave at us. I'm like, I'm terrified. I appreciated it at the time, but I'm terrified now that we just got that for so many years. Don't do that. And I hope he's not on here, but I love him. I love you if you're on. But I think it's important. Like, you got to know what you're giving away so you can
Mm-hmm.
have your arms around it. So well said, Randy.
And one little last thought on this is exactly what you just said. Know what you're giving away and then be
Right.
okay with it, or
Right.
not. Right. So if you look at it every month and you're like, that's a decent amount, but you know what? I'm okay with it because I feel good about what I was able to give back. Fine. But if you do that and you're like, "Wait a minute, what?" Now you
Yeah.
know where you need to tweak the dials to make a little bit of an adjustment there.
Absolutely. So let's go into the effort gap. You know, the effort requires energy. And so your energy quotient, which we mentioned early, I think this is an important formula that you have to figure out. Now, it's just further diagnosis into why or how you might be feeling the way you feel. And like, again, we're geeks about this. We love to see how great practices work. And Barrett Straub, our fearless leader here, came up with the energy quotient. When he said it, I'm like, that's brilliant. So here it is. And I want you to use this formula for your practice today. So here's your homework for today is how many days was your practice open for business? Now, this one's great too. People are like, well, I saw a patient on a Friday with my assistant and it was on a Friday. So do I count that? Yes, because you worked on a Friday. Like if your practice is open and you did any kind of dentistry, you worked that day.
Your hygienists were there, but you were on vacation. Yes, your practice was open.
Yes, your practice is open. Don't cloud this number. You need to know
Mhm.
the number. And then you have a gross production per day. Now make sure that's accurate. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take your total adjustment dollar amount divided by your gross production per day, and that's going to give you your energy quotient. We call that the ACT energy quotient. That is the number of days you are working for free. Little asterisk. Not really. You're working for more than free because you're paying salaries. So 200 in this case, 7,000 a day, taking the total adjustment number divided by $7,000 a day, that's 80 days. 80 days. Now, I'm 55. I don't have time to waste one day to work for free, and you don't either. So choose. And again, it keeps coming back to the word choose. Like choose the number of days you're going to work for free. So in this particular case, I love geeking out on this math, and maybe you don't, but I want to just go a little bit further in what this means. So this practice works 200 days. The average, if they work 12 months a year, that's 16.7 days per month on average that this practice was open. That's 4.79 months that this practice worked for free. So you didn't actually even collect a dollar probably until June 1st. That's too hard to work in those respects. So don't do that anymore. So we're going to encourage you to start closing the effort gap. Miranda, take us through this one.
So there's just a few key steps. I mean, we've kind of mentioned them along the way, but the first most important thing is to be aware of your write-offs. If you don't know, if you're not looking, if you're not running that adjustment report, or maybe your office manager looks at it, but you don't necessarily go over it with that individual, it's really just important to know and be aware. The more you are aware, the more clarity, the less stress. Then you can stop and look, okay, from an insurance perspective, let me identify my top 3 to 5 PPO plans, my top 3 to 5 insurances that I know we have like by number in our practice. And let's evaluate what the write off percentage is for each one of those. So if I know that, Delta, MetLife, and United Concordia are the top three in my practice in my area, cool, let's take a look. So that goes back to we can't just have insurance write off. We're going to need to have Delta insurance write off, United Concordia insurance write off, MetLife insurance write off. There's ways to find this information as well, but it's way easier if we're allocating the adjustments appropriately
True.
from the jump when we're making them. And then create a written policy for these elective discounts. The ones that are voluntary, the ones that you have more leeway over. Is there a cap for team members and what our benefits are? Are there certain people that are on the service and trade list so that we're sure that we are in fact allocating for your barber and we're balancing out your haircuts with
I don't need
the
that one,
dentistry
but
that they're receiving? And then eliminate emotional discounting and making those fee reductions intentional and rare. So, really work on the confidence in the value that we provide in our dentistry. So, when we are met with an objection, we don't feel like the answer to that objection to help someone say yes is to give a little bit away or to discount the value of what we do. Instead, we're confident and comfortable in managing those objections. And that's alignment, that's across the whole team. Quarter one, we're going to be talking about alignment. We're going to be leaning into how do we align around language that helps us to have these confident, comfortable conversations. And evaluate your membership plan pricing. If you have a membership plan now and you're not sure, What are the write-offs associated with that plan? Take a look and see, what are you charging versus what are you writing off? Is there a gap there that can be closed so that you can start to keep a little bit more of of the effort that you're putting into that dentistry that you're producing?
Yeah, another phrase I'm borrowing from you today. I learned so much when I'm on emotional discounting. I'm totally borrowing that. That's the podcast right there. What is an emotional? Because it's so true. When you were describing it, I'm like, we do things that are completely irrational because we want people to like us and say yes, and it makes no sense. None.
Mhm.
So, some final takeaways. I hope you guys are enjoying this, and I hope it's not stressing you out because we're here to help you. So if you're listening to this and you're like, you guys are having fun, but I'm not having any fun, don't do that anymore. We're here to help you every step of the way. We want to be helpful, and we've got a lot of resources to be able to help you. So we want you to remember this: stop celebrating gross production. It's a false proxy. It's a nice thing to look at, but really not a great goal. Start mastering instead net production. Get really good at collectible production, and you'll feel so much better. And again, like I said at the beginning, take a look at each one of these gaps, most specifically the effort gap, as a dial. Don't shoot for perfect. All we're looking for is progress. What we do here is we help people see this, and a great coach like Miranda just tightens the dials. And you can see each gap gets a little bit better every month, just a little bit better. And it frees up your ability to be who you are. I love it when a dentist is like, I got money now. I'm like, it's so cool. It's so much fun. And so closing that gap creates profitability immediately. So just a little bit of progress does it. And ultimately, like, money isn't everything, but profitability, on the other hand, is what funds that freedom. When you have profit, you can take a day off. When you have profit, you can leave your practice. When you have profit, you can go on vacation and not call the office. When you don't have any profit, you're thinking about your business all the time because you need it. So it's important. I would say profitability also helps you create more dentistry for people that need it, because when you don't need it, they feel that. When you need it, they feel that too. So owning your own practice should bring you the freedom that you wanted at the beginning. And then you get to pick how you want to live your life. And that, my friends, is the fun part. So, couple tools we're going to give you. We just created this, and you can be the first adopter. We created something called the Financial Gaps Calculator. So if you're thinking, like, how do I do this? Well, here's how you do it. I want you to pull out your phone right now and put it over this QR code, and it's going to take you directly to our brand new tool that we just launched, and you can use it first. And you can actually, by the use of this tool, you can see exactly all the things we mentioned today, where your practice is losing money, and you can fix it yourself. All you have to do is put them in the calculator. Miranda, what else would you say about the calculator?
Well, we just said the first step is awareness. And so what's really cool about this calculator is it's so easy to use. I know we
Yes.
showed you a big crazy spreadsheet. There was all kinds of numbers on it and you're thinking, if that's what I'm about to scan, no thank you. That looks like a lot of time and effort. No, this is simple. It's a really quick step-by-step form that you can fill out, entering in some very basic data from your practice, and you're going to get a report immediately that helps you to see, where is your effort gap right now? Where is your collections gap right now? What about your overhead gap? Where are these areas in your practice, these gaps in your practice, where the money that could be profit in your bank account is flying out the window and out of your piggy bank? And it's going to give you some quick tips for what to think about around each of those gaps. And then if you want to explore things further, you're welcome to complete the next step, which is scheduling a little chat with our team to learn more about how tools within the Best Practices Association or other webinars or even coaching could really help you. Or you could just take that information and see what you can do with it all on your own. But the key is you have to know. And if you don't even know where you're starting, then how are you going to get where you want to go? So scan the QR code. It's super fast, it's super simple. Plug in the basic information that's there. And in just a matter of a few clicks, you're going to know your very own gaps. And then I love the next slide too, because the BPA is my favorite place to be. So if you're not already in the Best Practices Association, you can join us right there really easily. You can go to the desktop link, the URL that you see there, join.actdental.com. and you can join us in the BPA, or you can have us on the go with your mobile app through the Best Practices Association. And then you can scan as well. It'll take you right to the website where you can sign up if you haven't already. A lot of people asked during this webinar, is this going to be recorded? Will I be able to have access to this later? Yes, right within the BPA. We have an event recording space where all of these webinars, masterclasses, the tools that we're sharing with you, they live there all of the time. And so if you pop on in, you can have access to them as well. And that's where we talk about you can do it on your own. This is a great space for you to be able to learn and understand and then say, hey, what tools do they have where I could just give this a try? I've never even looked at it before. I just need to start somewhere. Come on into the BPA and see what we have going on in there.
Yeah, please join us. So you can search the app, Best Practices Association. You can join by the link on the screen, the QR code. I invite you on this journey. Better practice, better life is serious stuff for us. And we want you to come hang out. I promise you, you'll love it. So make sure you check that out. So, Miranda, do we have any questions or should we just wrap it up?
No, we kind of answered them as we went along. So I think we're good to go on the questions unless anybody throws something in there now.
All
I
right.
think we're good. This was really fun. Thanks
Yeah.
for having me here with you today.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And I'm sad that we got to keep these to an hour because we could go all day on these. So if you joined us or if you're listening, I hope you enjoyed that. Keep showing up. We're going to keep bringing it. And so we wish you a better practice and a better life. So we'll see you soon. Thanks for joining us. Have a
Thank
great day,
you.
everybody. Bye bye.